Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1.
You will hear a man and a woman talking about daycare for their children. You have 30 seconds to read questions 1 to 5.
Hi, Sanjeet. How are you?
Pretty well, Angela. Tom won't be here for another 10 minutes. Shall we have coffee while we're waiting?
Why not? How's your family?
Not too bad, except my son Arav had a cold last week and then my wife Navreet caught it.
Oh, dear. My daughter Zoe had a temperature this morning, and I wasn't sure whether to send her to daycare. But my husband's away in Toronto, and I can't take any more time off myself.
I guess kids get all kinds of things at daycare.
I don't know. They also build up resistance there. By the way, I'm sending out invitations for Zoe's birthday party. How do you spell Arav?
AARAV.
Thanks. I've never heard the name before. What does it mean?
Peaceful or wise? It's popular in India because the film stars Twinkle Khanna and Akshay Kumar called their son Arav. What does Zoe mean?
It's the Greek form of Eve, which was my mother's name. It means life.
Nice. Navreet and I have put Arav's name down at a daycare center in East Lindsey, but we've heard a few odd things about it, so we're looking elsewhere. What's Zoe's daycare like?
Pretty good. My son went there for 2 years, and he survived.
If you don't mind my asking, what does it cost?
It varies. If you provide things yourself, like diapers and snacks, it's reasonable, around $30 a day. But if the center provides everything, it starts to add up and can go as high as $50.
I see.
Also, there are quite a few hidden costs.
Such as?
Well, the parents are kind of competitive. If a child has a birthday, Mom or Dad is expected to bring a snack for the whole room. The daycare is divided into rooms by age. Right now, Zoe's in Penguins. Sometimes I think parents spend a lot of time and money on those birthday snacks.
Once Navreet's back at work, she may well be too busy.
Absolutely. Also, if you set a pickup time but get there 15 minutes late, the center fines you $5 and $5 more for every quarter hour thereafter.
That's a bit steep, especially if you were just caught in traffic.
Before you listen to the rest of the conversation, you have 30 seconds to read questions 6 to 10.
So, tell me about the center in East Lindsey.
At first, I was impressed. It's spotless throughout, and the staff seems caring and responsible. I like the fact there's a decent amount of space, especially outdoors. However, I'm worried that the children aren't explicitly taught anything. All they do is play. Sure, Arav's only 1, but in an 8-hour day, there's a lot he can learn.
At Zoe's daycare, There is some structure to the week and some tuition. In penguins, Monday is alphabet day and Wednesday is numbers. In tigers, Monday's computer day and Wednesday's music.
Computer day?
Yeah. Parents have to provide tablets for their children when they turn 2. Another of the hidden costs I was telling you about.
Right.
But there's one good thing at Zoe's daycare. You're not charged if your child's off sick for a day. And as long as you give notice, you can take your child out for holidays, which, again, you don't pay for. Many centers will only allow a 1-month fee-free break in a year.
What's the hygiene like?
Good enough. The kids do get things in their hair, which is a bit embarrassing. But supermarkets stock shampoo, and parents are contacted as soon as there's an outbreak.
Would you say the center kept parents well informed?
Yes, I would. There you go. A reminder about Zoe's birthday. Her snack can't contain peanuts because a boy in penguins has an allergy.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
You will hear a woman being interviewed on the radio about living in a very small house. Before you listen, you have 30 seconds to read questions 11 to 15.
Welcome to today's show, coming to you from the home of Charlotte Williams. Good morning, Charlotte.
Morning, Simon.
Thanks for letting us into your home, which I believe has been inundated with guests recently.
Yes, I held my birthday party here.
Surely that was a squeeze, given your whole house is 8 square meters, about the size of my kitchen.
The party was in the garden.
I understand there's been an upsurge in interest in the tiny house movement.
That's right. Even Oprah has interviewed some of its devotees. We're no longer the weirdos at the end of the street.
But you were for some time, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I'm sorry to say I've had unpleasant text messages, rubbish strewn across my lawn, and rats put into my water tanks.
Goodness.
But you know, when I was a kid, people used to smoke in doctors' waiting rooms and on airplanes. Once on a flight to LA, I practically choked. My mother said crossly, "Settle down, it's only smoke." Now, of course, no one smokes on airplanes, and my mother is the first person to tell anyone off who lights up in a surgery.
So your mother's one of your fans?
I wouldn't say that exactly. Anyway, she lives in France. In my opinion, in the developed world, we all consume too much. I mean, in 1945, the average house in this city for a 5 to 7 person family was 111 square meters. 2 generations later, it's twice that size, while the family has only 3.5 to 4 people.
I note you say in the developed world. Perhaps an immigrant might still think you're weird. After all, isn't the American dream to think big?
Yes, one criticism leveled at me is that my lifestyle is anti-American. It's true that while working in Mozambique and Vietnam, I was inspired by my neighbors who used few resources.
Before you listen to the rest of the conversation, you have 30 seconds to read questions 16 to 20.
In Mozambique, people use far less water and electricity than here. That's when I started to live without a fridge or a shower like the locals. I washed in a basin of water, which I still do.
I don't think I could live without a shower.
In Vietnam, many of my neighbors didn't have a kitchen, but cooked and ate outside. This meant there was life in the streets. Here, my kitchen consists of 2 elements and that basin. And as you know, my party was outside. Also, in my part of Ho Chi Minh City, children generally slept in one bedroom. Indeed, children do share more when they're in small spaces, and they're less likely to acquire all the junky toys that fill up many American homes.
But you live alone, Charlotte, and the climate here is rather different.
Sure, my son's grown up and my partner lives in Chicago, although he visits often. The climate is cold here, but my heating bill is low because this is a small space. I do still need quilts and winter clothes, which I store under my bed. However, I own 2 coats, while my sister's got 10.
If you don't mind my saying so, Charlotte, isn't 8 square meters rather cramped? Haven't you had to give up all kinds of things?
Firstly, I have a great view of trees from my bed, so I feel part of nature, of the great expanse of nature. When I lived in a larger house, all I could see were other large houses. Honestly, I haven't given up anything. Every single item I now own has to be functional and beautiful. I don't keep anything out of guilt because it was a present or I paid a lot for it. I had 4,000 possessions before moving here. Now, I've got 400.
What other savings have you made?
I didn't pay much for this property, so I'm mortgage-free, which means I can work part-time. Without a doubt, the greatest saving I've made is of time. I clean my house for 1 hour a week. In the past, I was a slave to chores and maintenance. Most people think I live in a tiny house out of poverty or fanaticism, when really it's through choice. I'm just getting on with life.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You will now hear a conversation between a university professor and a student about the essential characteristics and differentiating features of a literary review. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now, listen to the first part of the conversation and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hello. Good morning, Anna. How are you, and how is that literary review coming along? Are you still working on it?
Hello, sir. I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking. Yes, I'm still working on it, and that's why I'm here. I'd like to talk to you about it. I'm drawing a blank on how to get started. Well, maybe you could suggest something to get me going.
Certainly. You do know that you must write a literary review. Have you ever written one, and do you have any idea on how you plan to go about it?
Well, I know it's a literary review, but I don't really know what it really is or how to go about it. I've written one before. I would imagine that, well, you take a book such as a novel or a book of poetry, settle into an easy chair, and then read it. Once you've finished it, you either give it thumbs up or thumbs down. Isn't that how a literary review is done, right?
Actually, no, that's not how it's done, and that's just too simple. Also, that doesn't really mean anything. If you really like a book or dislike it, you should be able to state why you like or dislike it. You might also find that there are parts of a book that you like, but overall you might dislike it, and vice versa. Now, the nature of a literature review refers to any collection of materials on a particular topic, and not necessarily the great literary texts of the world. Now, what am I talking about here? Literature in and of itself could be anything from a set of government pamphlets on the colonial methods of the British in Africa to scholarly articles on the treatment of a torn ligament. It could also entail fiction, prose, or anything in between. Furthermore, when you write a review, it does not mean that your reader wants you to give your personal opinion on whether or not you like the book or text.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen to the second part of the discussion and answer questions 26 to 30.
So what is a literary review?
A literature review discusses published information in a particular subject area and sometimes information of a particular subject area within a certain time period. A literature review can be just a simple summary of the source, but it usually has an organizational pattern and combines both summary and synthesis.
Okay, but how is a literature review different from an academic research paper?
The main focus of an academic research paper is to develop a new argument. A research paper will contain a literature review as one of its parts. In a research paper, you use the literature as a foundation and as support for a new insight that you might contribute. The focus of a literature review, however, is to summarize and synthesize the arguments and ideas of others without adding your own contributions.
Okay, I see. I wonder about the purpose of writing a literature review.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's exactly what I wanted to talk about next. You see, literature reviews provide you with a handy guide to a particular topic. If you have limited time to conduct research, literature reviews can give you an overview or act as a stepping stone. For professionals, they are useful reports that keep them up to date with what is current in their field. For scholars, the depth and breadth of the literature review emphasizes the credibility of the writer in his or her field. Literature reviews also provide a solid background for a research paper's investigation. Comprehensive knowledge of the literature of the field is essential to most research papers.
But I'm just curious about who writes these.
Literature reviews are written occasionally in the humanities, but mostly in the sciences and social sciences. Within experiments and lab reports, they constitute a section of the paper. Sometimes a literature review is written as a paper in itself.
Well, I think it is now going to be easier for me to write the review.
Good. But don't forget that you have to submit it by the end of the class on Monday.
I'll be sure to do that. Thank you for your help.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Now listen to part of a classroom lecture on geographical and related characteristics of Greece and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, students. Today, we're going to continue our discussion of European countries. As you know, we've already covered the countries from Northern and Central Europe, as well as most of the ones that lie along the Mediterranean. Today, I'm going to talk about Greece. As you know, it is an ancient birthplace of one of the most predominant civilizations to exercise early influence on much of the Western world. Now, when you think of Greece, you think of its antiquity and ancient civilization. You think of Alexander the Great, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, and all the great philosophers. You think of the Trojan War, the ancient Greek gods, and everything in between. Out of all the European countries we have discussed, Greece is perhaps the richest country in terms of culture and contributions to our modern society, more so than the Romans, for the Romans took much of what was Greek and repainted in a Roman fashion. Greece has been known since ancient times and is located in southern Europe, specifically southeastern Europe. Athens is the capital of this country, and it is located in the southwest of the mainland. It is also, of course, one of Greece's largest cities. Greece is situated at the intersection of 3 continents: Europe, Western Asia, and Africa. It is bordered by Albania in the northwest, Macedonia and Bulgaria to the north, and Turkey to the northeast. The Aegean Sea surrounds the east of the mainland. The Ionian Sea is to the west, the Mediterranean Sea is to the south, and the Adriatic lies in the northwest.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions.
Greece has the largest coastline of all the countries of Europe and is the 11th longest in the world because of its large number of islands. Greece contains a mountainous peninsular mainland with a land boundary of 1,168 kilometers. Greece has many islands, totaling around 6,000. There are 230 that are inhabited. The climate of Greece is classified into 3 types: Mediterranean, Alpine, and temperate. The temperatures in the Mediterranean rarely reach extremes, and at times there is sparse snowfall in some areas. The temperature climate is mainly marked by cold, damp winters and hot, dry summers. One of the most prominent geographical features of Greece is the mountain range. Greece is among a small number of countries that feature a large number of mountains within their territories. Mount Olympus is the highest peak and has been believed to be the abode of the 12 Olympian gods of ancient Greece. It is the 4th tallest peak in Europe and rises approximately 3,000 meters above sea level. The Pindus mountain range runs from the northwest to southeast and is further extended to the Peloponnese range. The Pindus range also runs underwater and crosses the Aegean Sea to form the Aegean Islands. The largest of these islands, the island of Crete, is controlled by Greece. Greece also has a large number of islands and islets that lie in the Aegean Sea. The largest island, Crete, extends 250 kilometers from east to west and is 55 kilometers in width at its widest point. It is approximately 150 kilometers south of mainland Greece. The Ionian Islands are a different cluster of 7 different islands, 6 of which lie off the western coast. The 7th lies off the southern tip of the Peloponnesian Mountains. The Aegean Islands fill the Aegean Sea in an area that spans between mainland Greece to the west and north, Anatolia to the east, and Crete to the south. While much of the climate of Greece is predominantly Mediterranean, the Pindus mountain range divides the country so that the climate is much wetter in the west and drier and windier in the east, particularly during the summers. The northern areas have a transitional climate, while other areas have an alpine climate. The average annual temperature varies between 10 to 19.7 degrees Celsius. The winds in Greece are colloquially known as the Meltemi, but they are better known by the name Etesians. These are prominent in the Greek mainland from the mid-summers to early winter. They keep the temperatures on the islands of the Aegean lower than those in the Ionian Sea.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.